Hello, hello, lovely Instagram followers on our Estill Voice account. Luke Steinhammer here, Director of Operations and Development. I will let some people come into the room. We are going to be talking with Diego Imperiale, who is an Estill Master Trainer, who made the transition from countertenor to tenor, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that with him as soon as I see him join this live. I should request to go live with Diego. Diego, as soon as you are in, there you are. Request to go live with me. Let me do that and just wait. Looks like I have a request, and I will let Diego into the room. Talk about turning into an international opera star. I'm sure Diego will have more to say about that. Happy World Opera Day. Hey!
Hey.
There is my superstar friend, Diego. It's so great to see you.
Hey, how's it going?
Happy World Opera Day. That's first.
That's first, yeah. World Opera Day.
Diego, where do you join us from today?
Florida.
Okay. Diego is in Florida currently, living in the United States. But Diego, you're originally from?
From Argentina, Buenos Aires.
From Argentina. When did you move to the United States?
I've been here for 2.5 years now. It was like April of 2021 that I got here.
Okay. Awesome.
When I first went to the United States in 2016 when I took my first Estill course with Kim.
Oh, no way! So
yeah.
Kim Steinhauer, you did an Estill level 1 and 2. Where was that?
It was Westchester University.
At Westchester in Pennsylvania. Okay.
That was my first time in the States ever.
Okay, amazing. And the first time you were in the States was for Estill. That's so awesome. Diego, what do you do for a living? I mean, I know you do multiple things, but you tell me.
Yeah, I sing different places. I sing like at restaurants, at dinner time. I do some musical theater. I did musical theater back in Buenos Aires too. And I teach voice, of course. And I act too. I'm an actor too, so sometimes I act in music videos. I'm in a movie that's on Amazon Prime, and that came out last Christmas. And well, this Christmas, they get rebooted every season. People, watches Christmas movies, like a Christmas comedy.
Of course, yeah.
So I do a little bit of everything, acting, singing, and of course teaching voice, which is my passion. I've done that for a long time. I love, apart from performing, then being able to, with the experience and with the knowledge, try to help others do the same thing and feel good about it. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. I mean, amazing, and I totally agree. What brought you to Estill in the first place?
I think it was my passion about singing and changing things. I always wanted to like learn more stuff about singing and learn what I was doing. I wanted to know what I was doing, and I think what led me to Estill was that I couldn't really do what I wanted with my voice. So I kept searching and searching until I found this, and I was like, oh wow, this is different. This is something that can really give me, a different choice, because it's what I tell my students all the time. You keep switching voice teachers, and they all tell you the same thing. So until I found Estill, that's when when someone told me something different.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Yeah, and then I could really achieve what I was looking for. I'm like, okay, well now this is working. It's not like before because I used to be like this type of obsessed student that would go in his room, and practice all the time.
Yeah.
So I'd be practicing things that maybe weren't the correct ones for me. And so until I found this, that's what led me to find a new way of studying, and luckily found Estill.
So essentially, of course, it helped you achieve your goals, your personal vocal goals. And that was because you started out as, you said, what was like the first type of singing that you did?
I think it was Beatles.
Like the Beatles.
And
Okay, so like rock
I played
and
guitar. Yeah, I played guitar since I was a kid, and then once I was like, oh, I wanna. I always loved the Beatles, and I was like, I want to play in a Beatle band. So to play in a Beatle band, you have to sing. I was playing bass and singing, the McCartney lines, and the McCartney lines are so high that I'm like, I need to find a teacher and learn how to do this because I was doing everything in falsetto.
yes, yes.
So so that's when I started singing. Yeah, I started singing like Beatles and rock, Robbie Williams. I always liked Robbie Williams. I remember at those times I always wanted to sing his songs, and those were high and with this rock, gritty thing, right?
Right. I mean, so you started as essentially like a rock singer, a pop rock
Yeah.
singer, and then of course it brings me to your blog post that you wrote for estillvoice.com. Again, shout out, read Countertenor to Tenor. It's on estillvoice.com. It's in our news. Diego wrote about this experience from basically a musical theater actor, I guess, and then even before that, rock singer, pop singer, to then become a tenor in an opera on the West Coast. Summarize a little bit about that journey from being a musical theater singer to an opera singer. What inspired you to do that?
Let's see. I like both things.
Me too. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
one is not better.
I like
That's
a lot of
Estill.
stuff. Yeah, I like a lot of stuff. And even when I started singing as a pop singer and a rock singer, I always appreciated the opera. I remember I had a friend that he learned. I was learning popular singing, and he was learning classical singing, and we would always peak. And I was like, oh, I want to sing opera too, but I can't. When I couldn't at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, after a long time, I was like, I always, now and then, I would continue with my pop singing career, but now and then I would like go and try to take a lesson, maybe, or try to learn some opera, because I was like, I want to learn how to do this too, but
Right.
I could never achieve it. And so when I started learning all these things, I started being interested in musical theater, and I was like, oh, I can sound kind of like a legit tenor, a small tenor, but with a microphone, but it's still a tenor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, I want to sing opera. So then I started trying to sing with an operatic sound, and I realized that I could sing as a countertenor better than an operatic tenor. It was easier for me.
Okay, quick, define countertenor versus opera tenor, operatic tenor, legit tenor. What's the difference?
Oh, okay. Let's describe it this way. In Baroque music, in old music, women weren't singing on stage. They weren't allowed on stage. It was only castrati, which were the guys that would be castrated so they could keep their boy's voice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like the choir boy type of voice. So it's a man singing kind of like in a tenor range, but a fifth above the tenor.
I was going to make you demonstrate.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
if you have
what would a countertenor, what would a line, a countertenor, how would it sound?
Right, countertenor would go. It would be that type of sound in like mid to high range, like. That's usually.
That's incredible. I want to hear the whole thing. But again, and for our Estill audience, I mean, what do you think? What's your recipe? What Estill options and qualities do you think countertenor recipe involves?
Cool. That's a great question. Yeah. It does involve a thin fold for sure.
Okay, true vocal fold, body cover,
So
thin fold.
And it's working with and I always say we need, for this type of singing, we need to have for any body cover that we're using, we need to have a low effort number on the body cover.
Okay.
So that's very, very important, to have low effort on the muscles that are doing that body cover, because then you need this turnover sounds that they speak, outside of Estill. Like everybody talks about this turnover sound, this, this operatic sound, this classical sound. So you need to keep always a low effort to be able to move through the range.
Yeah.
For countertenor, you always need to keep those thin folds.
Okay.
And I think the main difference between going to this male's voice, this tenor voice, would be the narrowing of the AS that we always talk about that we need for opera.
Right.
But in the case of the countertenor, it's not that much, because
so less narrow AS is what you're saying.
For tenor.
For tenor.
Not for.
Okay.
Right, not for countertenor.
For countertenor.
Because narrowing the AS will. Right, tenor will need this ring for sure, because as we keep the relaxed, maybe still thin folds.
Yeah.
But and very relaxed effort number in the body cover. As we put in the AS, there's a longer closing phase, right?
Okay.
And that makes the folds become a little bit thicker without you making them thicker. So then you're not pushing anything. Then you're not getting out of that turnover sound. You're still in that classical thing. Once you do that, so that's why it's the AS is the main thing, and it depends, of course, on the range. One of the things that countertenors have, we need to keep those thin folds. It's a thin fold. It's a thyroid tilt.
Thyroid tilt. Okay. Yeah.
Personally, I talk about like a mid-relaxed tongue. Maybe for musical theater, it's better to have like a higher type of tongue. Then we'll talk about it. But now I'm going back to musical theater. But but I'll try to keep like a mid relaxed tongue, so it gives me the position of when you're tired or sleeping, and then the tongue will take this like relaxed position.
Okay.
Mid to high relaxed position. So I would say mid tongue.
Anchored? Are you relaxed in your body, in your head, neck, or are you?
I try to be as relaxed as I can, but I always talk about like trying to when you go, because opera is also performance and it's acting. Yeah. So when you're acting and you're on stage, you already have some anchors.
Sure.
There.
Right.
Like head and neck and I think you do have some anchors already when you're on stage performing. So I try not to make a point of that in my recipe. I try to do it without anchors. So then when I go and perform and I'm in character and on stage, I will be doing some anchoring.
Okay.
So it will be anchored eventually, I think.
And then, so you gave us a voice example sort of the countertenor. What would give us an example maybe of the sound of an operatic tenor? Yeah. The difference between countertenor and tenor. Obviously, we know it's range, right? So the pitch range is lowered.
It is a bit lower. Not that much. What I sang right now, it was like F sharp to G. Okay. What I sang as countertenor. Okay. Usually, tenors you need the high C, and then countertenors you need the high G. Okay. But it's usually F sharp, because when you do Baroque, the tuning is lower. If you do real Baroque, the tuning is lower. Okay. So it's not 440, it's like 415 for tuning. So usually it is a bit lower. You're hitting Gs, but you're not. In those times, instruments were tuned in 415 instead of. Sure, I didn't even realize that kind of. Sometimes chamber music has almost sometimes a little bit of a almost flatter feeling. It feels like the music is almost flat. Yeah. And I didn't realize that would make sense. Yeah. Now, new companies usually they do them in like regular tuning, and so you need to hit Gs. But well, that's why that's fifth up usually that you can that you do from the high C of the tenor. So you share a lot of notes. Okay. And some you don't. So if I would, I could try to do the same thing if I had to do it as a tenor, like the same thing I just did. Yeah. It'd be instead of and it would be a so it would have a different feeling, right? But it's not way louder. I think it feels louder because the vocal folds become thicker, and they have this ring. This oh.
I was gonna. Is it the true vocal fold body cover? Do you think is the biggest difference between like countertenor and tenor? Maybe one of the like from thin to thick, essentially.
Yeah, but I think it's not, when you train, it's not that you have to think thick, because if not, you lose that. You need to keep that feeling instead of, you don't have to become too thick because it becomes musical theater.
I see.
But yeah, it is, and then the anchors are a little bit bigger, and I talked about cricoi too. I talked about cricoi too, because you usually see this stuff, this thing in the tenors, right? The tenors go like,
and so I mean, is it common for people to go from so I guess, and I already know the question because you wrote about it, or the answer, but you know, to go from musical theater to opera, I mean, is that a common journey for singers, speaking generally?
It could. I think it's the other way, right? Could it be the other way?
Right. It's usually the opposite way. So, and again, I think the beauty of Estill voice training is like empower yourself with the knowledge of how to control your voice, and then choose how you want to use it.
Right.
That's the one amazing thing about Estill is, oh my God, now I know that I have control of this. It's not just a guessing game, and now I can, you know, choose essentially the style that I want to sing. And so technically we know it's possible. That's Estill, yay. You know, we can do this. But I guess I would say more about like, how does the opera world essentially, like, do they welcome you with open arms? Is it more like sort of a prove yourself sort of situation? I guess, how did you get the role?
So I think in the opera world is a little bit more difficult because they're used to like having one thing.
Right.
Like in the opera world, you're either one thing or the other, so you can't be a lot of stuff. So it's hard. But yeah, I believe we can change. And I also want to say that it's not easy. I mean, we find the recipes, we know what we're doing, and then we need to drill.
Train. Yeah, aka go to the gym.
Because the body needs to like acquire it, and then when you go on stage, it has to come out. So that's why, you know, for when I wasn't luckily I had to go to San Francisco. I had to stay there for 2 months for rehearsals and stuff, and you know, get ready for the show. So I could do only that. So I could only focus, okay, tenor. Right. I didn't have to do like other jobs and stuff I do here.
Right.
So that was a good thing that helped me. I usually recommend that, like, just do that if you have to like switch and do something completely different.
Right. Because our body almost remembers it.
Right.
And then,
so how I got the role, I have been working with Thomas. He's
Tom Clark.
And Thomas Clark. He's been helping me with the tenor thing. He was like, okay, I want to show you a couple of things, and let's do this and that. And so then they needed a tenor. They needed a tenor for the lead tenor for an opera. They were doing one of the companies over there. And he was like, do you want to audition? Because I have this director that needs a tenor. And so I sent like 10 videos. I don't know how many. I think he said it somewhere. And then I got it. And then I got it that way. I sent videos, a lot of videos, and they trusted me to do it. And the good thing is, it was a small theater. It wasn't like a super big theater, because you need to build up these transformations. I'm like a light tenor, not like a super, you know, dramatic big tenor voice. So I'm a light tenor, and I could do, because to do Puccini, this was Chinese Kiki, which is a Rinuccio role. Puccini is usually you need a big tenor voice for Puccini, for Verdi, for that kind of repertoire. But being not a big theater, I could do like as a lighter tenor who sings other repertoire. I could do it anyway, which was great.
And I mean, again, opera is mostly amplified or unamplified. You're not singing with. Are you singing with microphones or not? No.
No mic at all. Nothing.
Right. And so, what do you think helps with projection? You know, I guess get really technical with us. What helps an audience hear a sound?
Uh, that's interesting too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. One is the narrowing of the epiglotic sphincter,
Right.
for sure. You
Of
need
course.
those. You need to
Ring.
have those
Right. Squealo.
harmonics.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Usually the woods. Usually, you know, the like oboe and those instruments will eat you alive if you
Uh-huh.
don't have the, because those are the loudest ones. I mean, violins too, but you have a lot of violins. But maybe if you don't have a lot of violins, you're fine. So with the wood, you're done, and with the brasses, even worse, impossible. Well, possible, but big. And I think the cricket has to do with that too, because they always talk about this. You know, Pavarotti used to talk about like it's a beautiful yell. So I think the beautiful part of it is the sob with an epiglotic sphincter, probably. That would be the beautiful part of it, like put the sob, add epiglotic sphincter, and then if you add cricoid, I think it's kind of like this. It gives you this idea of, okay, I'm keeping the beautiful part, but then I'm bringing it out.
Okay.
That's why I think it's more like I think it has to do with the energy that you want to put into it.
Okay.
So and it's what I talk about it in the article. Like you build a recipe and then you work with that recipe, trying to, like, if you have this, and then you go, okay, and you kind of like put it out there, but trying to keep the recipe so you don't go out of the sound. Then you start projecting more. So it's like a combination of things, and it's a combination of states in the body.
Right.
If you push too much, you're done.
Right.
If you and if you don't put it out there, then you get eaten alive by the instrument.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
that's what's hard.
Right.
And that's why with the countertenor, that's why I said, like, people relax mid-tongue, and if you add a little bit of this cricoid energy or idea, as I said, you keep your recipe. So if it's countertenor, you keep your recipe. So you go, and then I am adding that kind of like, but I keep the recipe. I don't go to like, I don't go there, so I don't go out of the style, probably.
Right.
But
right.
usually you have some. I think you have some of that like behind. I'm not saying cricoid as belting, but I'm saying you have that cricoid energy behind, like and you see that a lot in opera, like that's more like opera.
Yeah. I mean, again, yeah, it really is. These combinations have maybe like style attractor states. Let's say, like, you know, okay, usually cricoid tilt goes with belts, or, you know, this and this and this. But again, you know, if you really analyze someone's sound, you hear so many different combinations. And again, like our 6 qualities for vocal control, or our 6 qualities that Estill teaches, you know, it's a starting point. And then, you know, Diego's opera recipe may be different than Estill's opera recipe. And that's great because we, you know, again, can make many combinations. Figure combinations for voice qualities is what we call it.
Yeah, of course. I think it's the same. I think it's the same recipe as Estill.
Yeah.
But you kind of like work with with some variants depending on what you feel you need, or what could help others as well. The base recipe is it's great. I think it's great.
Yeah.
But we always say that, right? Like the quality is for training.
There.
And you start there, and then that's wonderful. And then you start like thinking and seeing, you know, what you can get. And if you have to like switch, and then it has to do with also the type of voice that you have. That's why I started doing countertenor, because I felt like my falsettos were easier. I had this teacher that told me, hey, with that falsetto, you should sing countertenor because the falsetto is wonderful. And that was like, it was, you know, without training. These things that we have, some singers, most of the greatest singers in the world, in history, they didn't have like the best training. They just had amazing talents.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, my falsettos were usually easier than the high notes with thick folds or the chest high notes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that's why I was like, okay, I can do this maybe better, and I enjoyed it a lot because I like Baroque music and Baroque styles, and I've discovered like a new world, and I was like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. This has been so illuminating. I want to end with just one thing about your mentors. I mean, your Estill mentors specifically. I'd love to hear how they impacted this experience, and or just in general, how important your Estill mentors have been to your process as an artist today.
Oh, very, very important. I couldn't have done it without them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was always that guy that needed the technique. No, there's other people that maybe don't need it that much. They just sing and everything's easy for them. For me, everything was hard. I couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, shit. I played since I was a little kid, but then for the voice, I was struggling. So of course, Kim, who she taught the first chorus I was in, and I was like blown away. It was amazing, and she was always so loving, and you could like talk to her and ask her things. Then after Kim, I prepared my EFP with Karen Perta.
Okay.
Amazing. She's a very dear friend. Now she's helped me a lot with my process and getting me ready for my first exam. And then my other mentor, my mentor for the EMT is Alejandro Saurin Martinez.
Yes.
And we still work together, and I still work in his courses sometimes, and he still helps me with all this stuff because he's big in opera.
Yes.
We wanted to have him today, but well, as he doesn't speak English, then it would have been longer. But, right, because we're gonna have to like be,
But
But
you've worked with so many, and then Tom Clark as an EMT.
And then as an EMT, Thomas Clark helped me with this transition and with his ideas as well. So yeah, I've worked with a lot of people.
Yes. I saw a comment. Cheers to all Estill trainers. Yes, again. It just goes to show, and you can work with Diego too. He also teaches as well. He's an Estill master trainer, and it just goes to show you the extreme wide breadth of this community that encompasses all different styles and is experts in one field and loves to learn from others. I think that's what really makes the Estill community such an incredible one. And so obviously, clearly they have impacted Diego, and they can help you as well. So I would encourage you all to seek out the extreme wealth of knowledge that exists from our Estill community. Over 1,000 trainers across the globe and counting and growing. Diego, I want to say thank you so much for doing this. Secondly, go read his article From Countertenor to Tenor. It's on estillvoice.com. It's linked in our bio. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. We'll share a link to it after this live. Diego, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. I've seen, and Felix is there too. I want to thank him because he helped me with he translates. He's a translator. He's in English. So he helped me with some of the stuff to write the article because there were very specific stuff that he helped me with English. Felix there. My friend Cameron is there too. Thank you.
And thank you everybody for tuning into this world.
Yeah, it's a great team and a great community. I want to thank you, Luke, too. Thank you so much for receiving me with open arms in New York when I was there. We had a great time. That's a good thing about the Estill. We become friends as well. You become
friends. Yeah, we hung out. We threw a football against Singers throwing an American football in Central Park when Diego was here in New York City. So again, I encourage anybody to reach out to. So Diego, thank you. We will stop this. Hope to see all of you again for another live sometime.
Yeah.
And cheers to vocal empowerment, y'all. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.